Continuing my series of recollections of some of my former celebrity friends that have sadly since passed on. And in this particular video, I'm going to mention a couple of my recollections of my late great dear friend Jani Lane, the former singer of the band Warrant, who was like a huge success in the 80s and early 90s, as most of you already know. Jani was a great guy. I got to know him first on the Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinkin' Rich tour album when it first came out, the first record, and it was a gig that they were doing at the Thirsty Whale club here in suburban Chicago, which is now gone. And I was doing a photo shoot with them where I was having the band, pose for me. And, they're doing group shots, individual shots. And Jani looked out the front door, and there were people outside in the cold, in the rain, lined up outside waiting to get in. And he came back, and he was so excited. He was like a little kid, and he came up to me, and he goes, dude, there's people outside. There's people in line. Like, he was so shocked. And I said, well, your video for Down Boys is all over MTV, And he's like, yeah, but wow, And that was the first time that I met Jani. And I met him constantly over the coming years and got to be friends with him. But it was in the mid-90s that he and I got to be really close. We used to call each other on the phone. We used to talk, and he had been through a lot with his career, and his career was sort of declining a bit, and he had been through a lot of personal turmoil, various marriages and divorces. And this one particular night, me and a friend of mine, my friend Ian was his name, and we took Jani and a whole bunch of rock stars out partying after their show. And boy, what a night and next morning that was. We had such a great time. I remember I took in my little crappy car, my little Chevy Cavalier, crappy little old car. I took Jani Lane, his wife Roanne at the time, Jeff Blando, the guitar player for the band Slaughter, and Steve Isham, God rest his soul, wonderful guy, from the band Autograph. He's since also passed away of cancer, sadly. And we all piled into my car, and Randy Castillo, the former drummer for the Ozzy Osbourne band, was supposed to come with us as well, but he decided to drive with another friend separately. They got lost. They never found us, but that's another long story. But so all the rest of us, we went out, went out partying, and we went out to a club, and there was a lunatic following us in the car, and it was some nut job that had been following Warrant from one town to the next, and apparently he wanted to be like the lighting or sound tech for the band, for Warrant. And I remember Jani said to me, he's like, like we don't hire these people before we go out on the road. What the fuck is this guy thinking? And it was just really funny. So we pulled into a gas station, and Jani wanted to lose this guy. And so Jani's like, wait for him to go inside. He's going to go inside and buy something. And then as soon as he does, take off. And I'm like, all right. And that's exactly what we did. And we took off, and somehow, I still don't know how, this guy found us like 10 minutes away at a club that we had gone to, and somehow caught up with us and found us. And it was just crazy. But we had a great time. Went out to Denny's the next morning. Jani ordered his usual deli dinger, it was called, which was on the Denny's menu. And he's like, oh, you got to try the deli dinger. And I was like, no, I'm having the moons over my hammy. And he's like, no, the deli dinger is the shit, man. You got to try that. And it was just so funny. And then we got back like noon the next day to the hotel, and I dropped him and his wife off. And Jani reached into his wallet like, hey, Steve, do you want some gas money? And I'm like, no, man, I don't want gas money. You're my friend. I'm honored to have you as my friend, and just take care of me next time you come to town. And sure enough, the next time they came to town, opening for, I believe, Alice Cooper. I think that was in 1997, I want to say. And Janie called me, left me a couple laminate passes. Wonderful time. Went to the show. Prior to the show, walked in the dressing room, and Janie saw me, got up, gave me a big, huge hug. It was, I mean, he's just the greatest guy. Super nice man. And it's another person that died a very, very tragic death, alone in a hotel room, and it just makes me very, very sad. But Janie was a great talent, a great front man for one of the most iconic bands of the 80s and 90s, and a really, really good friend, and just a super guy. I've met a zillion rock stars. Many, I've met pretty much every band that there is, probably 10 times over each one. But there are very few people where I can actually honestly say that, this person or that person was my friend. But Jani Lane was one of those people. He was my friend, and I'm proud to say that he was. So yeah, honor his legacy. His music lives on, and may he rest in peace, because he deserves it, and he was a great guy. So that's my recollections of the late great Jani Lane.